The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Maynard Bangs presiding. We all rise for the Honorable Judge Bangs.
All right, I think we're all happy to see the caretaker is gone. Finally, the bailiff is back. Bailiff, what'd you do on your vacation?
I went to the Bailiff Hall of Fame, don't you know?
And you were the only one in it, right?
Took my wee lad with me.
You have a son? Wow, I don't have time to get into this. Everyone be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus Night and Day. That's Night with a K. A 2010 action comedy that finds an everyday woman, June Havens, hurled into a world of espionage as she adventures with secret agent Roy Miller, who may not be all that he seems. Or maybe he is. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are to be considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Night and day is drops of water on the hot skillet that is my mind. I am struggling to think of a more forgettable movie we have handled in these august halls. Now, that's a terrible metric because if it was a more forgettable movie, I naturally wouldn't remember it. So, let's just go into how absurd Night and Day is. It really is. It's shocking how bloodless and devoid of passion this movie is. You can't remember a thing that happens. You know, I am struggling to think of a less appealing or engaging Tom Cruise performance. And let's face it, Cameron Diaz just floats through the movie. I'm surprised she was not replaced with a cardboard cutout to save costs. The movie is trying to be a strange date night kind of movie. We saw this trend a few times, especially in 2010 with Bruce Willis's Red and The Bounty Hunter with Gerard Butler and Jennifer Aniston. Quite literally the second tier to what we saw in Night and Day. I'm just afraid the genre has numerous shortcomings, but we can get into that later.
Don't forget the actual movie called Date Night.
Date Night doesn't actually have a secret agent, though, does it? I don't know.
But it fills with your date night.
All right, order in the court. I want to hear from
All right, no. I think Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
There's three lawyers.
Well, anyone can be a lawyer. Anyway, anyone can be a secret agent, too, apparently, if you watch this movie. Look, we will also look at the construction of the story. There's parts that we breeze through that we shouldn't, and there's parts that we linger on that we shouldn't, and that makes for a real mess. This would-be globe-trotting adventure just comes up short. And yes, that is a dig at Tom Cruise's height.
Aww.
Thank you.
He does the best he can, Mr. Schlender. Thank you. Well, now for the total opposite, one could even say the night and day, we have, on behalf of the defense, is Mr. Nathanael Hummel. Please present your opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury and the honorable judge, I bring to you today a movie that is an action rom-com. My opposition is going to try to dissuade you from what you know to be true. This is a good movie. From the opening statement, it is clear that the issues they find with this movie are not with the film itself, but with preconceived notions against the action rom-com genre. Why anyone would have issues with such a high-velocity, zany, dare I say, cute genre, I cannot say, but I believe it's important that we remember what is on trial today. The 2010 masterpiece Night and Day, starring Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, directed by James Mangold, and not the action rom-com genre. This movie brings it all. It brings the A game with charming and engaging performances from both actors. And the adventure is off the charts in this film. It brings the class and sophistication of James Bond's most decadent capers, the high-impact, non-stop action of stunts of which Cruise's Mission Impossible series has staked its Hollywood-saving comeback upon, and the lighthearted, romantic back and forth the likes of Indy and Marion or Rick O'Connell and Evie. The story is compelling and original. The gunfights, the chase scenes, the quick-paced dialogue, and easy chemistry between the leads. This movie is a nod to the stories of old while bringing back a much-needed energy all of its own. When it comes to enjoying good storytelling, the chances are here without Night and Day, but they're here with it, without it, with it, without it.
Oh, is that a visual?
I see what he did there.
Joe completely lost.
Can we have the
I got it.
court reporter note that I was pointing up for with and down with?
So noted. We never hear from the court reporter. They don't. We pay them.
Very rare.
We pay them.
Stenographers.
We don't want to intrude, sir. We don't want to intrude.
Right.
Except when I just did 3 minutes ago.
6'7". I don't know what it means.
Stop it. Why is everyone so rowdy tonight? My God.
Well, Mr. Schlender, in order to make us even rowdier, why don't you proceed with your first exhibit?
And you know I will, because all the passion that's missing from this movie is in my case. Also, I have no idea how the prosecutor knew I was going to attack the genre so broadly, but he's right. We're going to get into that later. My first point I really want to focus on, because the whole movie basically banks on the star power of Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz. So, what do we know about these actors? We do know Tom Cruise is capable of really good action. Even Cameron Diaz, she's not without her action chops, making her way through the Charlie's Angels movies as she did, and looking very good. Don't get me wrong. She's well known for her looks. Heck, she even has a couple comedies under her belt. She debuted in The Mask with Jim Carrey. But in this movie, we don't get to see either of them play to their strengths as actors. And then something else I want to point out, Cameron Diaz can't even play to her strengths as a character, June Haven, but we'll get into that a bit. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing Tom Cruise kind of do the quippy, unlikable, kind of playing by my own rules kind of thing. Doesn't really jive then Cameron Diaz coming in, responding to Tom Cruise in this hot and heavy manner, like what we see at the beginning on the airplane. She literally just walks out and kisses him. None of their romance feels earned. It feels more like Stockholm syndrome. And I do believe this is a failure of the actors and the director, James Mangold, because we know he's capable of getting good performances out of actors. I mean, James Mangold is the same guy who did Logan. That made everyone cry. Nothing's making you cry in Night and Day. Nothing's really making you laugh, because the actors just don't feel like they have the passion. There's no real opportunity for growth for any of the characters we see. Now, maybe that's okay for Tom Cruise's Roy Miller, because he's a secret agent. He's an apex predator at the top of his game. So what we should be able to do is really bond with June. But we don't get enough of an insight into her. What's that?
Bond,
yes. We don't get enough insight into her life. Things start moving so quickly, and she keeps getting knocked out throughout the whole movie. So we don't really get the perspective from her that we really need to be invested. You just keep watching and saying, well, this is stupid. This doesn't make sense. And it's because Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise could not elevate this material. They didn't even seem interested.
All right, Mr. Hummel, is Tom Cruise putting in a good effort, or would you say he's on cruise control? I just made that up.
Damn it. Got to delete 3 paragraphs now. Thank you, Your Honor.
The prosecution brings some interesting points to the table, but I firmly feel that they're completely wrong. The point about us relating to June Havens, I think, is an interesting concept, because it brings you into this world of high action and danger and intrigue. And right from the beginning, right from the very cue of the very catchy theme song, we're brought into this airport with Roy Miller to see the world that he occupies. And that's where you begin to enjoy the character. He is a strong, capable lead who, for some reason, is in the middle of the biggest mission of his entire life when he happens to bump into, not an accident, a very beautiful woman transporting car parts back to Boston. Now, from their introduction, talking, having a conversation, Roy begins to see that there's something interesting in this woman. And I mean, he's Tom Cruise. So of course, June Havens sees that this man is a stud and he's capable, and he shows himself to be physically competent and intellectually competent, bringing a truly fantastic speech about the importance of someday and never, and taking advantage of the time that you have before it's all gone, because he lives life on the edge. So any woman would be interested in a man like that.
All right, I got to object to your objection. I got to butt in here, because at that time, the capability he showed was that he could catch a suitcase real fast. She had
out of
no
the air.
idea.
She had
no
handy,
idea about. Okay, but that's what I'm saying, though. That's all of it. And then he just had alcohol waiting for her when she came out of the bathroom and she started making out with him. I'm just saying, though, that does not true romance make. It doesn't demonstrate the things the defense was just saying. Also, I would also like to point out this was a less than classic Paul Dano performance, but we get so little time with the tertiary characters, it's hardly worth mentioning.
I feel like asking you what a classic Paul Dano performance is, but I'm just going to pass it back to Mr. Hummel for any rebuttal that he might have that. Do you believe in the chemistry between these two?
100%, without a doubt. I think from the moment you first see a girl on the playground, the physical feats are what you use to make women know that you exist. And I mean, catching a suitcase.
You taking notes, Ben?
Catching a suitcase out of the air before it's even anyone else has even registered that it's falling. That's truly fantastic. If I was a woman, that would have gotten my attention, especially if it was about to fall on my head.
I always do it when nobody's watching. Damn it!
That's your problem, man.
Yeah, you need to miss your opportunities then and save them for when women are around.
Yeah, let that suitcase fall and hurt someone. Mr. Schlender, your next exhibit.
I have a great exhibit, and all the fans of the show know exactly what it is. It's the conflicting tones. Yes.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, no, not. We'll get to what we're doing here. I actually know exactly.
Objection, Your Honor. Issue with the rom-com genre and not this movie.
We'll see. We'll see if there is.
It applies. It applies to this movie because, unfortunately, the action rom-com, there's just too many plates to spin. It's too hard to balance all the different pieces, right? So what we have here are the funny parts that aren't that funny, and then we have very derivative action. I mean, how many shootouts have we seen on a highway? I mean, it might as well have just been cut and paste from Heat when he's walking towards us. I'm going to have a talk with those guys in the tunnel. Like, yeah, okay, Tom Cruise, you're coming across as a madman right now. Again, there's still no reason Cameron Diaz should be trusting you. The fact that she's been running away from you should be a hint. I mean, think about how crazy this is that they were in a plane crash, and he just brings her back to her apartment, sight unseen, leaving Post-it notes saying, "Don't tell people I exist." Hey, dude, don't leave Post-it notes that say you exist. You're literally incriminating her. All right. But anyway, getting back more so to the clash of tones in the genre here, you know, they have a few different things, right? So you need the romance. You need the chemistry. I have argued that is not there. You need the action. Now, we know Tom Cruise is capable of a lot of action, so I think it's fair in 2010 for audiences to go in here with very high expectations. And we don't really see Tom Cruise do a lot of Tom Cruise kind of stuff. Like, he's on top of a car, he falls, but it turns out that wasn't even him falling. That was a stunt double. Tom Cruise is not going to fall in the lake. He's not even going to fall in there for us.
He used a stunt double?
He did for that fall. When he
it was Ben Stiller, I think.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like, this is the same Tom Cruise who like climbed up the huge building. Was at Dubai? He hung from the. Yes, thank you, man. Ryan is on a roll tonight. Thank you. You know, and then you've got him hanging from the plane in the Mission Impossible movies. We don't get a scintilla of that. My goodness. And then, so we have the romance. No chemistry. We have the action not living up to the standards.
I would actually like to jump in a little bit on the action.
Oh, you've got to, or I won't shut up.
Mr. Hummel, should he have crashed that plane himself?
Thank you, Your Honor.
So to really dive into the action of Night and Day, which I truly believe firmly is what has set the trend for modern action, we have to dive back into the action of old. Circa early 2000s, we have a well-known franchise known as the Bourne series come out that truly ruined action for decades, because they made these choppy, quick cuts so that you knew nothing of what was going on. Now, in the Bourne movies, this worked well because that was the story they were telling. Choppy, quick, you had no idea what was going on. That was intended, but it spawned many terrible action movies. See, for instance, Taken, where there's 4 cuts to see him go over one fence. Truly horrific stuff.
Hey,
now,
Liam Neeson needs as much help as he can get.
Taken will get his day in court, I'm sure, but
and I will defend it, Your Honor.
Now, this movie brings back and ushers in a new era of action where the fight scenes are very clearly shown so that you have no question of what is going on. They're more actual stunt heavy. They show quick shootouts that last in medium to wide shots that you see the action happening. There's no question of what's going on. Now, this, I believe, is directly responsible for such movies as the John Wick franchise and later the Mission Impossible movies, which have taken the building blocks that Night and Day brought back to the table of medium wide shot action and took them to the next level. So I stand here in front of this court today saying that if not for this movie, Night and Day, I doubt that the John Wick movies ever would have come to be.
You know, Your Honor, I would like to rebut that, citing some precedent here. Back in the day when we did the People vs. Superman 3, the court basically acknowledged that interesting things can be mined from an otherwise bad movie, which we did find guilty, but we did acknowledge its impact. So even if I wanted to concede all those points that it did help influence John Wick and the future Mission Impossible movies, it wouldn't take away from the fact that this movie itself is still bad when we examine it in its totality.
We'll let the jury decide. I mean, inspiration might not be great enough, but if it sets a good example, then it sets a good example. So we'll see what the jury has to say about it. So, Mr. Schlender, you were about to rail on the third thing against this genre?
So, no, the third thing just would have been the comedy, and I think we addressed comedy's just far too subjective. I don't think it landed based on the brutality that we see from some scenes. Very reminiscent of kind of like how Hudson Hawk did the whole cartoony Looney Tunes violence, and then the guy gets the arrow in his chest and she has a very dramatic death. I don't think the comedy works here in the way we would expect from, say, someone who's a true master of the craft like Jackie Chan. Right? Jackie Chan would have had a passed out Cameron Diaz saying, "I don't want any trouble," in a ladder factory, running around. I'm doing it because Jackie Chan would love it. And he'd be running around with a passed out Cameron Diaz, kicking people in the face, taking off sweaters. That would have been hilarious. But we don't get to that level of comedy here because they're not capable. First of all, they're not capable of the physical comedy, which is what I would argue you would really need for this genre to land. So it relies more so on the quippiness and drugging of Cameron Diaz, which says, "I don't think I like you," to the Spanish arms dealer. It's like, okay, yeah, we've seen her drugged out this whole movie. Why stop now? But I'm willing to move on to my third and final argument, if I may.
I'll let Nathaniel comment. Is there comedy in this film?
I think that, to the prosecution's point, when handled poorly, brutality versus comedy can be off-putting or play poorly. Now, I think in today's culture and in modern filmmaking, they've lost the simple art of the shoot 'em up. And I think that this movie points back to that. Think of any Western movie you've seen. There is death on a large, large scale, blasting left and right. But when handled in a John Wayne way, that isn't as impactful because you know that it's here for entertainment's sake. This is not some sort of weighty story about, is John Wayne's 6-shooter toting cowboy a serial killing psychopath, or is he a good guy doing the right thing and doing what needs to be done? And I believe that Roy Miller brings good guy doing the right thing that needs to be done, who also enjoys his job because he's very good at it. And so he's clearly capable and willing to handle the situations. And he keeps telling June, "I've got this." And he does have it every time. And I think that allows the comedy to work, because this is not, even when the guy gets stabbed in the chest with a knife on the train, it is not a heavy, weighty death. There is no moral ambiguity. We know for certain that Roy Miller is the good guy and he's doing the right thing. And that allows the comedy to thrive.
And then he hangs on for those sausage links. Schlenzo?
Exactly. Hilarious.
Well, so I think, to meet the defense halfway, I think if you tone down some of the brutality, if there wasn't as much stabbing, if there wasn't as much blood with the gunshots. I mean, we're talking about the John Wayne westerns. They get shot, they clutch their chest, go, "Oy!" and they fall backwards. I'm not saying that's what they should have done in this, but
yes, they should have. They should.
I'll meet the prosecution halfway and say this movie would have been even better if they had done that.
All right, maybe.
John
Okay,
Wayne and Jackie Chan.
Oh, now there is a movie I'd pay to see, but so I think we have the comedy point well established, Your Honor. If I can move on to my last point. Very good, sir. So basically, I just kind of want to point out some of the absurdity of the story. And I understand we have to suspend a certain level of disbelief, a la like James Bond. But we have someone who is basically a fugitive from a CIA that is portrayed to be very powerful and very omnipresent. And he travels the world with remarkable ease, but there's always people there waiting for him. How was there already an operative on the train, right? How does the CIA not know about his secret tropical getaway? These are the questions you're constantly asking. It's like, how are they moving around so much? Like, how is she knocked out for 18 hours and now they're on a plane and now they're skydiving and now he's in prison and now they're going to take a helicopter to escape? That would have been a cool scene to see, but no, just knocks him out. I mean, the amount of times people get knocked out in this movie is just not healthy. And then this whole super battery plot line, granted, it is just a MacGuffin. Yeah, exactly. It's just to keep moving the plot along. But it's not very interesting. It's not very engaging. The stakes aren't particularly well established. And then it just blows up at the end anyway. And so it's just like, well, that was it. We don't get to see much growth through June. We don't get to see any growth through Roy. So at the end with that explosion, it's just kind of, what exactly were we doing here? You see, I told you that was coming.
I knew it.
That's really what but it's true though. That's what you ultimately ask yourself as the story is unfolding. It's like, is Tom Cruise, Roy Miller, literally playing like 3D chess? He knew that Cameron Diaz was going to inexplicably be able to doll herself up amazingly and still be able to follow him, even though he had already left. I don't know how long it takes her to get ready, but that's neither here nor there. And then he knew she was going to listen. He knew she was going to betray him. I mean, it's just like, there's so many things that you have to rely on circumstance and luck. And granted, he does say, I believe in luck, but I mean, come on, this is a lot to swallow for a movie, because you're not thinking about their chemistry because it's not there. You're not thinking about the jokes because they're not there. So you're trying to follow the plot, and guess what? That's not there either. And I will rest there, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Schlender has rested without even mentioning Gal Gadot, so that's a point for you, Nathaniel. Nathaniel, if you'd like to proceed with your first exhibit.
She's barely in it!
First, I have a few rebuttals to the prosecution's case. I, for one, firmly believe that the eternal battery was a fantastic departure from the classic nuclear bomb trope. When you have a spy movie, it can become a little dicey to come up with a new idea. I mean, how many times has the nuclear bomb been the threat? So to add something new, something that is a positive, a net positive, there's really no negatives to it, except for bad guys getting their hands on it and then utilizing it to power perhaps nuclear weapons. I think that was a great step away from the classics to something new and very impressive. And not only that, you add in Paul Dano's character, who is the creator. So not only are they going after this battery, they're also going after the mind behind it, which adds a second layer that is very tricky, almost as if you had Oppenheimer and the nuclear bomb on display. So you could lose the bomb, but still get Oppenheimer. So it adds one extra dimension to it. Now, as far as the characters changing, I believe that you fully see June Havens grow because she becomes more and more capable, so much so that she's able to kind of switch places with Roy towards the end of the movie when he is been taken by the CIA and has to get out, but she takes care of that for him. And you see Roy grow in a way that he opens up from going from a very difficult and challenging betrayal from one of his good friends, Fitz, to being all alone in the world, he opens up and allows someone else to come in and help him save the day. And I think it's fantastic. But without further ado, I can get into my
least guarded CIA asset in that hospital room. She's just able to wheel him out. Come on.
All right, Mr. Hummel, your first exhibit.
Now, most of these are based on the fact that this movie does what other spy movies have not done as well or as cohesively. And also that it has every aspect of the classic spy movies that we love. So the first thing I'll start out with is the aesthetics and the stylings of this movie are fantastic. Each outfit that Roy Miller wears is a perfect callback to some sort of character from before or an extrapolation of what those characters would bring. He can dress up the same level as Bond could. He can wear the action adventure in the wilderness outfits that Indiana Jones could wear. He even brings a nice little denim on jeans with the dual pistols. Too cool. Fantastic work there. So I think that brings it. And then partnered with the outfit are these fantastic exotic locations, right? This is a globetrotter of the highest order. Now, while the prosecution did point out that we go places rather jumpily because we are following June Havens, who's unconscious, I think that it does a really good job of keeping us from being stuck in the airport for 12 hours with them while they're flying on the plane. It keeps us from wondering, how is he going to get out of this?
But I have to object, though, because of how wanted he is. It's just not this easy to traverse the globe in the way they did, going from the tropics to the Alps, right? And then it's just.
I would say that could be true.
We need a little something. We need a little grounding for some of these transitions. Right. Not all of them, some of them, from Nathaniel, but not some of them.
Well, I would say that could be true if you weren't dealing with a spy at the top of his game, right? If he was going through regular channels, then sure, we need to explain how the CIA is ahead of him and behind him and somehow not getting him. But he has stolen planes. He's stolen boats. He's showing up at every spot with what he needs. And I think that that's what's very cool about this character. It's a callback kind of to the pulp and men's adventure fiction of old, where you have characters like Doc Savage or many others.
Sergeant Rock.
And the rest.
Brendan Fraser from The Mummy.
Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. One of my favorites would be the Secret Service in Darkest Africa is about a G-man named Rex Bennett, and he is capable and prepared, and he has stuff set up. So I think that this is where Roy being somewhat of a flatter character is actually a benefit, because he is capable and he has contingencies set up. He's been doing this for a very long time and was prepared, which is why he has things set up in different locations and plans, and he's able to decipher Paul Dano's secret message about going to the Alps and how he's able to go from place to place.
I don't think they get on that train with a passed out woman unless she was like in a steamer trunk or something. I mean, come on. And then there's already
who knows?
a
He could
bad
have
guy on the
parachuted in.
train.
You've seen him do it before.
So, did the bad guy follow them on? Like, that's the
no.
thing, too.
The
It's
bad
like,
guy followed Paul Dano's character, right? Because he is not as much of a top secret guy as Roy Miller is. In fact, Roy wanted him to stay in New York, but he missed his chance, and so that's why I ended up on the train.
How do you end up on the train?
There's European assassins on every train, just waiting to pick up a contract.
I can't argue with that. Very lackluster for a train fight, too. Even for a Tom Cruise movie. I mean, we all remember the first Mission Impossible. But anyway,
no, that can't be right. He got thrown back and forth across the train room for several minutes. It was fantastic. My next point would be on this romance that you find to be uninspiring or unenjoyable. I think that...
And excruciating.
This movie does a fantastic job of giving you a character in Roy who, to your point, he seems slightly creepy. What's going on here? But the good news is he understands so much of the game that's being played because he's been playing it for so long himself, right? So he knows from the moment that they let June onto the plane that now not only does he have to take care of this kid who's barely out of high school, who is created the source of everlasting power, he also now needs to take care of this woman because his enemy has pushed her into the game, and he doesn't want to have to do that, but he knows that he has to because he's a man of character and a man who is capable and therefore feels the necessity to protect her. So as the story progresses, you see June fight against this, but as things unfold, everything that Roy tells her and shows her and teaches her comes to be true, right? Safe, secure. If you hear those words, that's bad news. That means they're going to kill you. Next thing you know, she's outside and they say, we're taking you to a safe, secure location. And then he's swooping in to save the day. Then she tries to get away again because he just killed a bunch of people, and that's stressful. And once again, he's there because the bad guys are right on their tail. So he is operating on a level higher than she is. And as the movie progresses, she begins to understand that this is the case, and therefore understands that he is protecting her and is a man of character. And that's where the romance blossoms and the understanding blossoms. I mean, he teaches her how to break out of a fight of being held, and that's what ends up saving the day on the train sequence. So there's things put in place throughout the entire movie that shows why this woman would fall in love with someone who, to all intents and purposes, to her seems to be a sociopath. Things break down and she understands that he has only ever been looking out for her, even though he's trying to save the world at the same time.
Yeah, but she kind of figures that out in like the last 10 minutes of the movie is when she's like, oh, that's why he set me up so I would betray him. So all this stuff you were talking about, like when they're on the beach and they have their from here to eternity moment, all very sweet, and then completely out the window with this idea that, oh, he was playing me. You know, like I think that falling action in their relationship happens too late in the movie, and then just to immediately turn it on its ear by having her visit the parents, which the most bizarre and useless subplot probably in this whole movie. And then to say, I have the Cypher, and then just to be pulled back into Spain, where the running of the bulls doesn't even happen in that town. But that's another point. That's neither here nor there. But my point is, I can appreciate where you're coming from with how you want to characterize this relationship, but all the growth, so much as it is, which I'm again arguing isn't really there, would happen in like the last 10 minutes. There's nothing that has you invested going in until they just explain everything to you at the end. It's not organic and it's all told to you. You don't actually get to see it. If you were watching this movie on mute, you wouldn't know that they were in love.
They were in love?
Presumably.
I have to disagree. I think
Maynard, did you watch this movie on mute?
No. Mr. Hummel, come up with an exhibit.
I think that you're discounting the idea, and there's a reason why they say nice guys finish last and that women enjoy bad boys and pursue bad boys. So Roy Miller here is a perfect combination of the two, right? Where he is a nice guy that women end up wanting to stay with, but he also has enough of that danger in him that is intriguing to June. So it keeps pulling her in, even though she sees red flags. But towards the end, you realize that those red flags were not there at all. And that's why she's allowed to have this love for him.
You put me in a tough spot here, Nathaniel, because I really want to make a joke at Ben's expense.
And go for it.
I'll allow it.
Go for it.
No, I'm kidding. See, I think this is part of the problem with the way June is characterized. I feel this is a bit of a stereotypy, doe-eyed female protagonist kind of thing. Yeah, I don't think it's really resonating with the modern woman. And I believe this movie is meant to be one of those kind of date night action movies. And having watched it with a female myself, I could tell you the one thing she kept saying the whole time was, "This is so stupid."
She says that a lot, though, especially around with you.
I also, to that point, does she not say that about most action movies? Because I think once again, we're
not at all. She loves Predator. Action. She's a keeper.
But Mr. Hummel, does Cameron Diaz prove herself capable throughout the film, or is she just along for the ride, being drugged repeatedly?
She is certainly capable. From the beginning, they show you that she is capable of things that are more classically masculine, right? She runs a mechanic shop. She's able to restore cars all by herself. She's traveling by herself across the world to get these car parts and bring them onto a plane, which I would not want to do at all.
Across the world, she went to Kansas, dude.
No, it's a whole other world away.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
and after that, she was not in.
Well, I want to hear from
Kansas
Mr.
anymore.
Schlenzer.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
But yes, as the story goes on, she's shown to be capable in every sense. I mean, she's capable in fights. She's capable in driving. She's capable to put pieces together that are on a higher level, as we talked about before, realizing that Roy had a secret plan the entire time that none of the other government people could figure out, but June was able to do it. She is a very capable woman.
Question from them to remind me, does her mechanic skill come into the mission at all?
I am so glad you said that, Your Honor, because that was going to be my rebuttal. She is built up to be this mechanic who loves classic cars. And actually, I was reading online in interviews that Cameron Diaz is actually a pretty formidable driver in like obstacle course driving and stuff. So this is actually a skill she has. And Tom Cruise, of course, is a formidable driver as well. I think he had the record for the Top Gear track. But anyway, my point is, this would have been a great action piece for Cameron Diaz to show what a strong female protagonist she could be if she was in that old school muscle car going through a chase scene or having some kind of action beat that she got to control. No, she drove away from the FBI agents and then spun around and they captured her again.
No.
That was
got them completely stopped and then got all the way to Spain. She called
after they put a bag over her head and kidnapped her and drugged her again.
Just the way she drew it up. It was a perfect plan.
Also, part of Tom Cruise's plan was that she would stay in America and be safe. So, like, trying to give her credit for figuring it out, she completely blows it up.
All right. Nathaniel, do you have any remaining exhibits before you rest?
I just want to call back once again to the impact that these fight scenes have. I know the opposition said that they were lackluster, that they didn't bring the heat, but I truly believe that if not for these fight scenes, we would have seen another decade of choppy action sequences that hurt the eyes and the mind. So for Tom Cruise to, on his way up from playing Vincent in Collateral to this movie and then into his legacy of action in the following movies of the Mission Impossible series, it is clear that this was a fundamental piece of his legacy in bringing action back to cinema in a way that has never been done before. With that, I'll rest.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Both sides have rested. We'll now go to closing arguments. Mr. Schlenzo, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll be characteristically brief.
Sure.
Night and Day is not an ambitious movie. And maybe it did try to stay in its lane, but it's ultimately a flawed genre, a flawed lane to stay in that never really works. I mean, look, the last attempt at this genre was This Means War in 2012. Okay, that may not be true, but to suffice it to say, we don't get a lot of action romantic comedies for a reason. And that reason is the scales are too hard to balance. Night and Day's inability to dial into either the action or comedy or romance just leaves us wanting more. Now, look, like I said at the beginning, we have done a lot of boring movies in this court. Conan 2011 comes to mind. But have we ever done one as forgettable as Night and Day? I'm glad we got this case done now because the movie is rapidly leaving my brain. I will not be talking about this in a week, a month, or a year. I mean, come on, people. Case dismissed.
What are we doing here? Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Mr. Hummel, please present your closing argument.
Gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, I want to point out that I was correct in saying that the attacks would come not to this movie primarily, but to the action rom-com genre. Luckily, I've been trained to write stories with nothing but a keyboard, a whim, and my imagination. So that's precisely the reason I was able to pick apart each argument of the opposing counsel brought to the table with my eyes closed. I'm not saying that my eyes were closed. No, I wanted them wide open to see the glory of Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz riding a motorcycle in between trains, Diaz quick drawing Roy's pistols and spinning around to shoot bad guys, the motorcycle leaping over an arch like a ramp. This movie deserves to be watched with eyes wide open. I remember the first time I heard of Reels of Justice podcast episode. I remember thinking to myself, someday I will win one of those cases. But someday is a dangerous word. Often it's merely code for never. But thanks to this movie, thanks to the moral of this movie, that every day is the opportunity to live the adventure and choose the life you want. Today, like June and Roy, I found my someday, and that someday is right now. Thank you, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, Mr. Maynard Bangs, and Mr. Why am I in a bikini? Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
All right, this way. I have to have a wee word with whoever fills in for me during Hell on Reels. My desk is just filled with skeleton keys, and the calendar just has deadlines written all over it.
I promise, don't call
a long way to go for that punchline, but we made it there.
The best punchlines are worth the walk.
Yeah, if only that was.
Brutal.
Let's see who's gonna go first. Rob, what are you thinking about this movie?
I'll begin, but I definitely want to hear from Ben because he's really a Tom Cruise expert, I think, in this court. Unless it's you, Ryan, but I mean,
probably me. It's
probably
okay.
All right. I wouldn't be inclined. Ryan is the expert on most things. So, but Ben loves a good Tom Cruise movie. I don't watch a lot of them, so I can't. I did see Collateral and stuff like that, but I've seen almost none of the Mission Impossibles except the one where Superman reloads his fists, which was cool. So I thought Cruise was kind of so in this, but I just don't know that I expect that much from him. I mean, he was cool and calculated, but he never really there was never a challenge for him. So that kind of wasn't that interesting. I think Cameron Diaz is the more interesting character here. And I was kind of able to get through the whole movie just following along with her. It does suck that she kind of just keeps blacking out all the time. But at least she brings the comedy to me, because she's sort of the fish out of water that's here. This movie is kind of forgettable, but I don't know that I can label it like incompetent. It seemed to do everything it wanted to do, and whilst a lot of it was sort of paint by numbers or stuff that we've sort of seen before, it managed to do it pretty cleanly, and again, I just don't think it tripped over and fell flat on its face or anything. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about it.
It's definitely not incompetent because it is James Mangold behind the camera, and he did give us Identity.
Yes. He also gave us Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, that's true. He gave us several cases. How nice of him! What a nice gentleman!
I appreciate directors like that.
I don't think it's incompetent. I think that the action is serviceable, but to your point that you're forgetting it as you're watching it. I watched this movie at 8 a.m. and granted, I have a head injury. I do not remember 98% of what happened in this movie, and I was not doing work at the time.
Such a precise calculation for something you don't remember.
That's because the 2% I do remember are when they're hiding behind the little things and they start shooting it at the bad guys, and I thought that was cute and clever, and then I don't remember why I felt that way. Ben, you apparently have a lot to say, according to Rob, so let's hear your Tom Cruise thoughts.
I don't know that I do, but I do appreciate, he's doing the Ethan Hunt sort of action from Mission Impossible, although the action is directed differently, where he's kind of lying down on a moving car without straps or holding on to everything, and he's navigating things a bit more effortlessly. But I did like the point that this probably did inspire the way action scenes would go. I love the quote, choppy action sequences that hurt the eyes and the mind, because that was true. I wasn't, when I was watching this, when I was rewatching it, I wasn't thinking about its place in that time. And that probably is true. It probably did gravitate away towards that and inspire Tom Cruise to do more of that action stuff that he then went for in the further Mission Impossible films. I also like that he's not playing Ethan Hunt. He's doing the action stuff like him, but he's not playing the same character. So that makes it interesting enough for me. I liked Cameron Diaz a bit more than him because, like Rob said, he's pretty much nothing can stop him. He's just sort of a mystery to everybody. So that's a little less interesting. To me, this movie feels like pink camouflage. I don't know. It's like, hey, we're trying to do an action thing that will appeal to boys, but hey, I'm a girl, I'm cute, and it ends up serving neither. But I don't know if that makes it bad. It's just because pink camouflage does have its market.
Right. Yeah, I'm shocked that he didn't do his own stunts though, because that's like the Tom
I
Cruise
did.
thing.
That's when he's doing
Yeah.
a Tom Cruise movie, but this is after he got fired from the Mission Impossible movies and basically had to beg Paramount to let him make one more. And then when they were shooting it, they said, "Oh, we can't kill Ethan Hunt." So that's the reason the Mission Impossible franchise kept going the year after this.
Do you believe their relationship? I didn't have a hard
Not at
time.
all.
Really, I didn't have a hard time believing that they were just because it was just a physical
I believed
attraction.
it at the end.
I believed in the chemistry. I didn't believe in the relationship.
Okay, that's fair. But I did believe that they would just be attracted to each other and start making out on the plane. That felt like,
That'd be better.
well, that is what
Hot
happened. I
people.
mean, at least they kissed.
That's all
It
hot
doesn't
people
really-
do is make up.
And I don't remember.
Who knows what happens when two hot people meet? No one in this court may ever find out.
I imagine they do the opposite of whatever we do, and we don't make out, so they must make out. Yeah, that would
it
track.
stands to reason. And then he crashes the plane. I think there are choices that would have made this movie, I think, very interesting. Like if he actually really was a bad guy, and then she has to go, okay, he actually is a bad dude. He actually is stealing this thing and maybe trying to
That's
sell
not
it.
going to fit a rom-com.
Right, that's the problem.
movie.
They have to kind of chicken out and make it nice in the end. And it's like, well, would you still love him? Would you consider loving him? There's a difficult choice. Like, maybe.
And they're both bad guys at the end.
Yeah, why
That
not?
would-
Like, okay, you're a bad guy, but I'm just going along for the cars. Some kind of a choice like that might make it stand higher up. Why is it
Get
called
the
Night and
kicks
Day?
on.
His original name is Night, right? Before he loses identity. But
And June is the sunniest month of the year. So
really, that's the day. There's a day in every other month. There's 30 or at least.
it's the sunniest one, though.
Yes. Maybe not anymore. All right. Well, we'll lock in. Like I said, this thing does kind of slip off the brain, but only because I think we've kind of seen stuff like it before, and it doesn't really do anything super new, but it doesn't flat out fall on its face. Like, nobody does a terrible job. Nothing about it's awful or painful. It's a little bit inoffensive. And so I don't want to call a movie bad for that. It's not good. It's not great, but it runs that famous line we have in here where it's like, this is just so mad that I'm not mad. I can't call it guilty. So I'm gonna go not guilty. It's just meh.
Ben?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think it's incompetent, and that helps. Like, so some of the comparisons were with what it isn't, and it isn't an incompetent spy movie, like an I Spy or comedy or something like that. It does what it does decently well. And I think it did work for what the future of Tom Cruise is doing. So I think that those were salient points. It was banking on the chemistry. I didn't feel it, but it was kind of funny in like the last scene where she kind of does what he does to him. So it kind of comes around. I'll also go not guilty, but I will not be watching it again.
I have seen worse remakes than Charade. Charlie, I'm looking right at you. But and as much as I agreed with the defense, I think he kind of overpraised it quite a bit, and I have to make sure that
That's what the defense
Dylan
does.
is not.
That's his job. I agree, but okay, keep going, Ryan.
But Dylan put the work into it. He put in the hours. He's Malcolm Gladwell over here for podcasters. So I'm going to make sure that he doesn't walk away completely empty-handed. So I'm going to go guilty. Let's go tell that very handsome judge.
Gosh, he's handsome. It hurts me sometimes. If only could meet
Really
someone
not.
else who is as
He's
hot
really
as he
not
is,
that
and then they might just
No,
start
sorry.
kissing.
Sorry.
Oh,
No, not as hot as you think.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, you ugly bastard. In the case of The People versus Night and Day, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie. Boo!
Verdict is so rendered. I hereby order that every member of the court here be drugged so that we'll wake up in several hours in bikinis and not remembering any of this. Court is adjourned.
Yay!
Yeah.
Finally!
He's a sort of bailiff, full grown and busting to be chasing a career in journalism. Just got back from taking my father to the Bailiff Hall of Fame, and now reporting live for you outside the Reels of Justice Courthouse. Mr. Schlender, what did you make of the jury's verdict then?
I don't like any of this. I want this on the record. I do not like any of
So
this.
noted.
Look, This was a fun case. This was a good movie to do. It definitely needed a day in court, I think, and I like the idea of it getting on some people's radar so they can make up their own mind. I think we had a great first-time defense attorney here, and I think the jury's verdict was well considered. And I will see you at the post show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Hummel, same question to yourself.
I'm thrilled with the outcome of this case. Night and Day is one of the top 4 on my Letterboxd, for better or for worse. So I had to come fully here to talk about it. I'm happy. I have nothing else to say.
Well, that's all the time we got for you outside the courthouse today. Back to the studio for post-trial crack, and mind yours. If the Gannival doesn't get you, the gossip will.
Gonna have to report the bailiff so that he loses custody of that kid.
Well, I think he said he was full grown though. So.
Yeah, he's an adult.
Well, he sounded very imp-like, I thought, but well, maybe he's young at heart. But great job, Nathaniel. I know what it's like to like movies that maybe aren't that great. I like Ghost of Mars, so I understand it. Now, what keeps you busy when you're not here defending Night and Day? What are you usually doing?
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was truly a blast. There's a bunch of things that I do, but probably the most important one to our discussion is I am an author with a company that I co-founded with 2 very good friends called Veritas Entertainment, and I write of old genre, the genre that all of this filmmaking, not necessarily action rom-com, but really kind of the high adventure action movies was inspired by. It's men's adventure fiction, pulp adventure, high adventure, the stuff from the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then it kind of petered off in the 70s. But I have 2 published novels. Both of them reached the best-selling list on Amazon, which was super exciting. One is about a series character that I have named Nate Colt. He is an international private investigator, and it's written from a first-person perspective, so you get to know the character, but he gets caught up in all sorts of crazy adventures. He is not like your classic private investigator. He is international in scope, so every adventure is a globe-trotting adventure, whether it's in search of treasure, a missing person, or possibly some work for the government. I really just wrote him to have him play any role I wanted him to do, but that's mostly what I do. We have a podcast called the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast where we talk about this stuff. So if you like Night and Day or Mission Impossible or Dirty Harry or John Wayne movies or anything in between, The Punisher, Rambo, that's the place to check out.
Ghost of Mars?
It's called
not Ghost of Mars.
Not yet.
Charlie Brown's
could be
4 out of 5 of those things.
But yeah, that.
What was it called again?
So, what was the name of the latest book?
My first book is Treasure is My Trade, and that's the Nate Colt character.
Right.
I have a second book coming out at the end of this year, and then my most recent release is called In the Heart of Alexandria, and that follows a French Foreign Legionnaire, which apparently not a lot of people know what the French Foreign Legion is. It was a conscript service, basically. If you had nothing else to do with your life, you could go fight wars for France, and so very rich time for adventure. One of my favorite movies. Also, not sure if you guys have done this one yet, but Secondhand Lions focuses on that. Yeah, so that was the inspiration. So I wrote it. It is good, swashbuckling fun. That book is just filled. It probably has 15, 20 sword fights, but I did my best to keep each one interesting and captivating. But yeah, Giacomo Ferrantino is his name, and he has to break into this city that they've been sieging and go in and try and get the gates down so that his legionnaires can come in. But he has to fight his way through so many people, so it's a lot of fun. I love
that
stories.
Sounds awesome.
I believe.
Now, who would play him if they make the movie?
Me. Great question.
I'm
for me, tempting proposition, but his the closest kind of call to characteristics that I've seen any actor play would be Brandon Schlender in 1923, the Yellowstone prequel. Very strong, capable, fantastic character, and he has one hell of a mustache, so that's all you need.
Nice. I am aware of the French Foreign Legion because I believe Ren and Stimpy joined it.
Could be.
Yes, they did.
Yep, thank you, Ryan. And Ryan, you were asking the name of the podcast. I believe it was the Men's Adventure Fiction Podcast.
Correct. Well done. Yeah, and The French Foreign Legion is baked into Adventurers because Rick O'Connell was in the French Foreign Legion, as was Indiana Jones. So there you go. A long legacy of Legionnaires doing cool stuff.
Yep, 18 years. Long
That's
time.
awesome.
Yeah, no, very cool. Now, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. So, Nathaniel, what is a movie you think people should see?
I was racking my brain hard thinking about this because I wanted it to be relevant, and I actually ended up bringing it up in my defense, and that would be Secret Service in Darkest Africa. Now, this is one of the serials that inspired Indiana Jones, so I guess technically you could argue that it's a TV show, but you can find it on YouTube. It's like a 4-hour long movie, and it is truly fantastic. I wrote a little review because I noticed that's what you guys do for your stuff. So from gunfights to sword fights to swinging from chandeliers, this movie brings the action. The action is nonstop and very fun. It's one of those movies where, they just threw only stuntmen into the cast. The dialogue is only to bring us to the next fight scene, which is just the way I like dialogue sometimes. If you want to see what inspired Night and Day, Indiana Jones, and many, many others, you should check this out. It has the capable hero, the damsel in distress, not quite sure she's always ready with a gun every time. And it shows the building blocks for modern action, high adventure, and kind of like the baseline of stunt-led films. So super cool movie.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, the biggest knock I have against them is by like chapter 12, you're like, okay, is the same thing going to happen again? But it's still super enjoyable.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's on YouTube because YouTube and Archive usually have a lot of the serials.
I know a guy who can find it.
Oh, yeah, sure. Some of it might be on YouTube, it looks like.
I did watch it on YouTube a while ago, so it could have been pulled off, but I'll do some research, see what I can find.
Yeah, usually those oldies, they don't go after them that much. But Schlenzo, what is your recommendation?
Oh, thank you, Maynard. We all have that special friend that puts truly amazingly awful movies on our radar. I'd like to think I'm that friend to many of you listeners out there.
If you don't know who you are in that group, you are that friend.
When I see our stalwart fans out there actually watching my recommendations, telling me I'm the reason they know an unnerving amount of Charlie Bronson movies, well, it makes me smile. And I know that they are the real ones, and so they can take this next recommendation. And I am recommending something so garish, I can't in good conscience even call it a hacker, and that is Blood of Beasts from 2005. Directed by the infamous David Lister, who seems to be as obsessed with Beauty and the Beast as I am with living scarecrows, asks the bold questions. What if Beauty and the Beast but Vikings? Cool. Answer, no. Riddled with all the low-budget trappings one could imagine, and a storyline so rote, its sets are so parsimonious, you do wonder if it's a real movie and not some fever dream you had between watching Showgirls and 10 to Midnight. But perhaps I'm being too personal here. Thankfully, it is streaming in a robust 480p on Tubi. I suspect it is a VHS rip. Support your local library.
So is one of the Vikings a beast, or are Vikings beasts?
No. One of them is a beast. He's on an island, and they go to try to kill him, but then he captures the Viking Lord, and then the Gaston
There's a singing candelabra. Yeah, we all know Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, God,
Sometimes I'll have to tell you about what if Yojimbo but Vikings.
Now that I watch.
What if Beauty and the Beast but Yojimbo? Since I was the judge,
Yeah, so David Lister's made like 4 Beauty and the Beast knockoffs, though. Seriously.
And due for another one anytime soon, or is this... He may not be with us.
God, anymore. I hope he's dead.
God damn
it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll check
Today's film was all about the good things that can happen when we meet strangers. Well, sort of. But my recommendation today focuses instead on the bad things that can happen. It's The Strangers, Chapter 2 from 2025. After surviving her first encounter with the 3 masked killers of the 2024 reboot, Maya must now evade her mysterious pursuers in an unknown town full of people she cannot trust. Like the first installment in the Plan trilogy, this was directed by Rennie Harlin, the same mind that brought us The Long Kiss Goodnight, Cutthroat Island, and The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Oh, and Deep Blue Sea. He's right up our alley, is what I'm trying to say, Schlenzo. However, the first entry didn't make much of an impression on me. In fact, I didn't even recommend it, as it was very reminiscent of the original Liv Tyler film. 2 whole hours just to watch 2 people get killed. To quote Ryan Luis Rodriguez, boring. So I was almost of half a mind to skip this second one entirely, but I'm glad I didn't, because it's a vast improvement. As the lead protagonist is the survivor from the last film, I'm more invested in seeing her continue to do so. And now that the strangers have to act with a bit of urgency in order to tie up their loose ends, they're forced to stalk her through an entire town rather than one tiny isolated cabin with only a few places to run and hide. And while the identity of the strangers is ultimately a moot point in the other entries, Maya now has to consider everyone she comes across as potentially the very people she's trying to avoid. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Toss in a fun and totally random encounter with a wild pig.
I'm a wild pig.
And you have what I think is the best entry in this series so far. There's more kills, less of that silly suspense nonsense, a dash of world building, and did I mention the wild pig? The Strangers Chapter 2 is currently streaming for rent and purchase on all the usual platforms, but only a bright boy like Ryan could tell us where it will stream for subscribers. Ryan?
Peacock, probably.
Peacock! There you have it.
But this podcast needs more references to Rocco's Modern Life. I've said it before, and God damn it, I'll say it again.
I said it in the movie when I was watching I'm a Wild Pig. Anyway, so Ryan, what have you got for us?
My truckamentation this week is one I was forbidden from truckamenting when it was initially released because of the stupid spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. It follows a freedom fighter / domestic terrorist played by Leo DiCaprio, pursued by a crooked as fuck military commander played by Sean Penn, who should only do villain roles from now on. He has a face for it. This is my fourth favorite PTA movie, but since I like all of them, it's no big deal. There's an undercurrent of absurdism flowing beneath the surface, so when I watched the credits and took notes that they said the film was based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, everything clicked into place. Given when this episode drops, you're unlikely to see this in PTA's preferred VistaVision format, but however you see it, it's still the second best film of the year. One Battle After Another is likely streaming now on what is now again HBO Max.
We brought it back.
Is the first Sinners?
No. Sinners is 3.
Ooh. You'll have to tune in next week to find out what number 1 is.
It's the monkey. Big Ben, send us on home.
Not even close.
My recommendation is different this week in that it's not a film I stand by, nor one that I think people should see it.
But you're
throwing down the gauntlet.
Welcome to the dark side.
I'm throwing down the gauntlet because it is not nearly as bad as the memes make it seem. In fact, there were sections of it that I thought were pretty good, amidst the others that were a little worse and at worst were a little boring. But it's never bad. It is Tron Ares. I was surprised to peek at Letterboxd and see the spread of mostly meh to negative reviews. This seemed much more of a next step after the original than Legacy did, which I think is part 1 of people's ire. I guess they wanted more of those sequel characters. It does use the style of that film, but doesn't retcon it out of existence. A lot of films today about computers seem centered on AI fear. Which this film easily could have gone in the direction of as well, but it felt surprisingly refreshing that it didn't. There are certain spheres I think that AI has no business existing in. But in Star Trek, for example, technology is used to everyone's benefit. If you can manifest something in the digital world into the real one, there could be real benefits to that. The problem arises how greedy people will then use their powers to do profit and warfare with such resources, or sustainable resources being an evolution of thought. So I think that's part 2 of everyone's hate. The read the room, we hate AI now, and not wanting to explore other takes. And part 3, of course, is Jared Leto, who admittedly is just fine here, but he really needed to do something Hopkins level to wash that taste of Morbius out of everyone's mouths. But, Hopkins wouldn't play these kind of characters. So he is a bit boring here as the program Ares. But I think he's doing some nods to Arnie's Terminator from T2, which is kind of fun. But he's mostly just kind of straight-faced. The rest of the cast is pretty good, though. Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Gillian Anderson. But the memes are all laser-focused on that Leto hate. So my hot take is that it's not that bad and will ultimately be forgotten. But, maybe we should have it on Reels. Maybe it just needed more bio-digital jazz, man.
Yeah, the best part was when he troned out and he started troning everywhere.
Man,
You didn't even see it. You don't even know what you're talking about.
No. Yes. I mean, no. Nathaniel, have you seen this new Tron thing?
I have not. I've taken it as kind of a rule if Jared Leto's in something to avoid it if I can.
Hey, Blade Runner 2049 is great. You should at least see
that's
that
true.
movie.
That is a great movie.
Despite him.
He's better when he doesn't have to lead. You know, he's fine. He's just like when he has to carry the whole movie. That's when
the Will Ferrell principle. Absolutely.
But wasn't he in Requiem for a Dream? He was fine in that.
Yeah.
That was 25 years ago, Dylan.
That is true.
What has he done for you lately?
Right.
Nothing.
He was good in that movie. He really went out on a limb. And with that, we are all out of show. But we want to thank our guest, Nathanael Hummel, for joining us. Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
It was an absolute blast. You guys are a hoot. So thanks for having me on. It's cool to be. I went to school for digital filmmaking, so to get to talk with people about movies and storytelling, it's one of my favorite things to do. So thank you guys for having me. It was a blast.
Yep, we loved having you. I'm sure we're going to have you back too. And we hope that everyone else will join us as well as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Scientology!
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.